Dawson's Rentals.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Ryder here with a tidbit of Power Rangers news as we get our first look at what seems to be the first wave of Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 toys, or Season 2 figures rather, excuse me, and I wanted to make this video to talk about one important issue surrounding this news. Why are we talking about stuff like this and nonsense like Dawn Brothers when we should be talking about Spider-Man every single minute we're awake? In all seriousness though, we should be. Why are we wasting our time with this and Dawn Brothers? It's Spider-Man! For real though, this time. So I wanted to talk about this, but let's first talk about what we see. We see Spider-Man. Go see it right now. For real, guys, I'm serious this time, though. Spider-Man. For these figures, we have the Dino Knight figure, which is Max Resoul Red, which is the Red Ranger power-up. And then we have an arm-armored Green Ranger and an arm-armored Black Ranger, meaning it's their form with the armaments that are just the arm power-ups. They're just labeled as Green and Black Ranger, though. They're not like the chest armor full ones. And there's two things I wanted to talk about with this that are some sort of nitpick issues I have. Maybe over-complaining, but just some issues I have with the way these are being handled. Mainly because it just bothers me on a practice level. But first, I'll just say that I think the Max Resoul Red Dino Knight figure looks really good. That's one of the things I was most excited about, oddly enough, from the moment we got announced Resoldier, is that I love this form and I was hoping to get a figure of it, and it looks just as I expected. You know, I think that in general, they're not perfect, but the quality of these figures is pretty damn solid for $8. So I'm happy about this. Still would love to get a Lightning collection of it one day, so I'm happy about that. Green and Black look fine. But my two issues come with this. So I'm worried about these Green and Black Ranger figures being the individual releases they talked about last year. And if you don't know what I mean by that, go watch Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm just kidding. But if you don't know what I mean by that, is last year, around a Fan Friday, we had not gotten news about an individual release for the Green and Black Rangers yet. We only had the Core 3 and the villain. Void Knight and Gold had leaked, and then at the Fan Friday, they announced the next two figures that would be appearing in like Wave 2 or whatever, or Wave 1.5, whatever you want to call it, was Void Knight and Gold, but nothing about Green and Black, and it's like, WTF, mate. Then a few minutes later, they announced the 5-pack, which would be the first time we got Green and Black, available exclusively on Amazon. And I thought, well, this is weird. Why are two main Ranger releases basically exclusives? Not like Amazon's a hard place to buy from, but it just seemed weird to me. Then not long after, they seemed to clarify saying Green and Black would be getting individual releases in 2022. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I still think that it's a little bit needlessly complicated, but no big deal. It'll ultimately get solved. But then the first figures we see for this are Green and Black, and they're just labeled like that. And you know, as of this video, this is all the information I have, so I could be prattling on like an idiot if you're watching this in the future. I mean, I'm prattling on like an idiot now, but I'll seem even more stupid in the future if they release regular Green and Black. I'm worried that this is the individual release they're getting, and we're never going to get a regular retail release for Green and Black. Thinking more about the casual consumer that's not like a hardcore collector, or kids that want the figures and they don't want to have to buy all of them. Like, what if the kid just wants Red and Black Ranger and they already bought Black Ranger or Red Ranger and they don't want to have to buy the whole thing? Sometimes there's people that just can't afford to buy the whole 5-pack. You know, when I was younger, I could usually only get one figure, maybe two figures at a time, and it just, for me, it just seems needlessly complicated and weird if Green and Black wind up being exclusives to Amazon. Again, Amazon isn't a weird place to buy it. It's not like a GameStop exclusive. You have to do a mail order in and like give them Captain Crunch or something. I don't even know what I'm saying. But it's not like it's that hard to get. But I just think that it's strange that two members of the main team would be effectively exclusive figures in their regular form. I could see that happening for maybe some armor forms or maybe something like Ryusoul Brown if we use it. But it just seems strange, and if it does end up being the case that we never get a just individual release of Green and Black for some people, I just think they made it a little bit needlessly complicated. It probably has something to do with how Beast Morphers sold or something, but I don't know. It just bothers me on a practice level, like just the practice of what they're doing. That being said, I'm sure that there's kids that don't give a brown Crayola about having to buy the armor figures. Like, they'll probably be just as happy with having a Green and Black Ranger figure with the armor on their arms. I just think it's a little bit needlessly complicated for me. Because from what I can see, you might be able to remove the armor, but I think that their hands and stuff are colored permanently in the color of the armor. So I'm not sure about that. Also, my other issue with this is, it's more of a personal thing, but presuming that these are the only figures we're getting for that, it seems so boring to release the arm ones when you have a series with a half dozen really cool looking chest armor figures. The first ones you release are the one with the arm armors. Again, that's a more of a personal thing, but I think it would be much more exciting to get figures that have the full-on chest armor and then it could be removable. Actually, that would make a ton of sense to release Green and Black with the more chest armors like the Mosa armor. I guess that's gold. You know what I mean, like the Dimetro armor or something, and then make it removable, because then you get a special unique release with an armor, and then at the same time, if you missed out on getting the 5-pack or didn't want the 5-pack, you can get the Black Ranger individual figure and just remove the fire armor. Just something like that, maybe. But that just seems weird. I'm really curious to see what other figures we get. We had very bare bones release, I feel, for Dino Fury's first year in terms of figures compared to Beast Morphers and especially Bandai. If this was Bandai, we would have every figure for this. We would have like all of the armors. We would have repaints of the armors. That's one thing I definitely missed, because that was another thing I talked about. I was excited about going into Dino Fury when we announced Re-Soldier Adaption. Was I love the armors, and I'm like, man, this is going to be so many cool figures, and we can capitalize on this in a way Japan doesn't, because they don't care about figures as much. And it's unfortunate we're not. And if this follows the pattern of last year, we might only get 2 or 3 more figures, and I'm really curious to see what they are, considering we have a handful of armor figures, and we also have like the cape armor ones we haven't gotten to yet. We know we're getting red with like the fire armor in that bike set and stuff, but I'm just curious to see what we get. And I don't want to sound like, oh, we're untitled stuff, because we're not entitled to anything, but I just, again, this whole thing just more so confuses me practice-wise. I would just, if it were me, I would do things differently. If it were me, I would have just released Green and Black with the first wave, and then the first wave of Season 2 would have been Max Resoul Red, Gold, Void Knight. That's what I would have done if it were me. It just seems a little bit needlessly complicated. But what do you guys think? Are you disappointed by the potential of not getting Green and Black individual releases? If you could only get a handful more figures for Dino Fury / Re-Soldier, what would you want to see for the remainder of the year? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. Syndications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.